Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up during today's episode, how the left is always on the wrong side of history, and local activists show their true faces. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I'm kind of really excited over what happened this weekend. I'm just going to keep saying that about the Ayatollah all day long. I mean, what happens? We go in and take out the entire Iranian regime? That's right. Oh, wait a second. Hang on. Hezbollah wanted to get in on the fight? Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Everybody who planned the October 7th attacks is now? We're just going to take out all of them. In all seriousness, though, this is history we are living through right now. This is absolute history we are living through right now. Jimmy Carter's entire legacy is being undone in real time, and what a disastrous legacy it was. I found out about this in a very unique fashion because on Saturdays, I'm off air, I'm offline, I'm off everything because it's a Sabbath for me, which means no phones, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury, including TV. Like Robinson Crusoe, it's as primitive as can be. So I show up and I go to synagogue and the security guard says, hey, we got to talk. The last time they did this, it wasn't good news, by the way. That was the last time.
I'm just curious, do coconuts ever fall on your head and
No.
then knock your filling loose until you're getting radio? You're getting KVI on accident through your mouth?
No, I get KVI on accident because there's a few KVI fans who live in my neighborhood, and they go, Ari, what's up? Got to tell you about something that happened. Yes, that does happen to me from time to time on the weekends. That's
so it's not
funny.
Entirely like Gilligan's
Not
Island.
like Gilligan's Island.
Just a little bit. Okay.
In fact, I think they're lying to me about Gilligan's Island. I've seen a picture of that boat. That boat does not have the range to get lost.
No.
I know how much gas goes in the SS Minnow. That sucker isn't going as far as they think.
Well, the storm took it over.
Oh,
that's what happened.
The tiny ship was tossed.
Yeah, it was
If
tossed,
not
yeah.
for the courage of the fearless crew,
Yeah. You
the
got
Minnow
it.
would be lost.
You
I
got
see. Anywho, so what happens? I go to synagogue. Security guard says, Ari, I got to talk to you. What's going on? He says, we bombed Iran. My face lit up. My face absolutely lit up. Why? Do you know how long this has been going on for? We've been at war with Iran for 47 years. They have killed over 1,000 Americans. Before we get to what they did to the Iranians, over 1,000 Americans. A little reminder for everybody. 1983, the Beirut embassy bombing killed 17 Americans. Marine barracks bombing, 241 U.S. service members. 1984 and 85, CIA Chief William Buckley was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. 1984, Kuwait air hijacking, 2 Americans were killed. 1985, TWA Flight 847 hijacking, 1 American killed. That's just the Reagan years. Now, a lot of people like to say, well, we got the hostages home from the U.S. Embassy because of Reagan. Yeah. But then we didn't do anything after that. Yes, basically, the Ayatollah and crew were worried what Reagan was going to do because he made a whole bunch of threats. So they released the hostages, and there's the Carter administration trying to say they negotiated a deal magically on the day he was getting out of office. I don't believe it, but sure, let's go with that. That's just the Reagan years. All right, let's get into Bush Sr. You then have Colonel William Higgins was murdered. Then in the Clinton years, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad bus bombings, which were funded by Iran, which killed multiple Americans. 1996, the Khobar Towers. 19 U.S. airmen were killed. 1998, U.S. embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania. 12 Americans were killed. 2001, the Sbarro bombing on Ben Yehuda Street in Jerusalem. 3 Americans were killed. That was funded by Iran. 2002 to 2003, Hebrew University, Jerusalem bus bombings. 6 Americans were killed. 2003 to 2011, 600 plus U.S. troops killed in Iraq by Iran-backed militias. 2006, American IDF soldier kidnapped by Hezbollah. 2007, Karbala attack, 5 U.S. soldiers killed. 2014, 2 Americans killed in Gaza. 2015, American couple murdered in West Bank. 2019, U.S. contractor killed in Iraq. 2023, Americans killed in Iraq and Syria attacks. October 7th, organized plan funded by Iran. 48 Americans killed by Hamas, never mind the other 7 that were taken hostage. January 2024, 3 U.S. soldiers killed in Jordan. Iran has been at war with us since 1979. I don't think America was ever really at war with Iran because we just kept punting the football, kept punting it. Oh, they killed some Americans? Let's take out some ammo dump that's been abandoned for days that they don't care about. Oh, they killed an American? Let's send in a missile to some radio tower that's not being used. Let's do that. That's been U.S. foreign policy for the last 47 years. And in the end, all it has done is cost American lives. Never mind the fact of what they've done to the Persian people, the Iranian people, who have been enslaved under Sharia law. A video that's making the rounds today put a smile on my face. I don't know if it's accurate or not. I don't know if it's true or not. It doesn't look like AI. But apparently the morality police get on mass transit earlier today, and they start inspecting people. And the women threw her off the train, said, no, we're not putting up with this nonsense anymore. I hope it's true. How they have subjugated women, how they have allowed rape, how they have allowed murder under Sharia law, how they have allowed the oppression of women. President Trump's the first one to come along and do anything about any of that. Now, I know some of you are conflicted about this. Yesterday, I went out to a anti-Iranian regime rally in downtown Seattle. And I got to tell you, it was really, really incredible. American flags everywhere. Iranian flags everywhere. Israeli flags everywhere. Pictures of President Trump. My favorite is when the YMCA came on and they all started doing the Trump dance. That video is all over social media because it's happening everywhere. Everywhere. This is what they were chanting.
USA! 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 USA!
That's in downtown Seattle, outside the federal building. That's in downtown Seattle. This is history. I know so many people who are Iranian. I know a lot of people here. I know a lot of people in New York who are Iranian, who are Persians, and who are so thankful to President Trump for finally freeing their country after almost 5 decades of oppression. And in those 5 decades, Iran has dedicated itself to spreading terror around the world. That was their goal. That was their stated mission. It wasn't about Israel. It was about, we want to destroy America. We want a nuclear weapon, and we fund terrorism. So who can we give it to so we can kill as many people as possible? I know some of you are torn about this, but don't forget how this originally started. It started with the takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Iran in 1979. I was trying to educate my daughter about what all this actually means. For her, the Ayatollah, he's just like a cartoon character at this point. But for her, the Ayatollah, I had to explain how this all started, so I showed her Argo on Saturday night. My daughter's getting quite the education from the movies of the late 70s, early 80s, through movies. Miracle last week, Argo this week, to explain how this all started. And people are forgetting about that. I remember when we were talking about the U.S. bombing the Iran nuclear facilities, and we had a Marine call in and said, finally, somebody has avenged my brothers from when they bombed the Marine barracks in the 1980s. That hit home with me. It really, really did. But an Iranian woman, in fact, several Iranians, walking up to me yesterday, talking about how much this meant to them, how much freedom meant to them, how much they love living in this country, and they came to this country to escape the oppression back home in Iran, how much this meant to them. These are proud Americans. How long has it been since proud Americans walked through the streets of Seattle chanting USA, USA, USA? There was a guy standing on the back of a pickup truck yesterday. Biggest American flag I have seen in my life outside of sports stadiums and the one on I-5 you see when you're driving. You all know which one I'm talking about, that massive American flag. Waving it back and forth. They did the U.S. national anthem. They did the Trump dance. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was great. I saw a Cybertruck there. The pictures are all on social media, by the way. I saw a Cybertruck there, which has the Iranian flag on it and the American flag on it. You never see American flags at the other protests here in Seattle. This is history. But I know some people are of two minds about this. Some people think, well, what's the plan? What's the goal? What are we doing here? What are we trying to achieve? That was clarified a bit this morning. Pete Hegseth gave a press conference and was outlining what our plan actually is.
Tying it back to Midnight Hammer, the president has been willing to make a deal. You can't have a nuclear bomb. Radical Islamists can't have a nuclear bomb that they wield against the world. He gave them every single opportunity. Then we precisely took it away. And even then, after that, they didn't have that. They didn't come to the table with a willingness to give it away. So ultimately, those nuclear ambitions, which never ceased, are something that had to be addressed as well. So that's a discrete sense of what's being addressed here to ensure that they can't use that conventional umbrella to continue a pursuit of nuclear ambitions.
It's that simple. They've already killed Americans. They've already said they want to use the nuclear bombs. And for years, we've been pacifying these fools. As recently as the last term in office, somebody put together this mashup. I shared it. It's going uber viral over the weekend. But I think it sums up the last 40-some-odd years of foreign policy and then President Trump coming along.
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
Mr. President, to Iran in this moment.
Don't.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care. I don't care.
That's the difference. When somebody kills Americans, you take them out. You take them out. So, what's the actual plan going forward? Iran was the number one state sponsor of terror. What does that actually mean? They were funding Hamas. They were funding Hezbollah. They were funding ISIS. They're funding rebels, the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They're funding all the terrorism in the Middle East. You want to stop going to war in the Middle East? You want to stop being involved in the Middle East? Then cut the head off the snake. So, what's the actual plan here? What are we going to do here? Pete Hegseth says that what the plan is to basically get the Iranian people to rise up on their own. There are some challenges to that. This is what happens when you have a population that cannot defend themselves from their government. So, what you ideally want them to do is take over police stations, use those weapons, take over bigger targets and bigger targets and bigger targets. You're not sure you can actually do that. That's challenging, and a lot of people are going to die in Iran. So what's the three-part plan that the America has in this? We don't want to be boots on the ground. I don't think there's anybody who wants to do that. Here's what he said, quote, "We set the terms for this war from start to finish. Our ambitions are not utopian. They are realistic, scoped to our interest and defense of our people and our allies." He said everything is being carried out surgically, that it would not resemble Iraq or Afghanistan. So what exactly are we going to be doing? I didn't get a lot out of the press conference. Instead, this is what he did say.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change. And the world is better off for it.
Okay, I still don't know what the plan is. I still don't know what the plan is. If the plan is to take out every single terrorist that's in Iran, we're going to be there a really, really long time. Who else is going to get in on the fight? Last night you had Hezbollah launch rockets at Israel and U.S. targets. So Israel came in and eliminated what's left of Hezbollah leadership in 20 minutes. Literally in 20 minutes. So what exactly is the plan here? Why did we actually do this? That's why we're glad we got Marco Rubio.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Have we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
So, the way people are spinning this online is completely incorrect. What he's saying was Iran was getting closer to doing a nuclear weapon again. So that meant Israel was going to go in and take them out again. Iran was building more of their ballistic missiles. They had not stopped production on the ballistic missiles. They were going to use them. Israel was going to go attack them. And Iran was planning on preemptively attacking U.S. bases. So better we control the war than let them surprise attack us, and then we have to respond. Okay. I still don't know what the plan is here. What's the plan here?
So two things, and two things can be true. Number one is our mission and our focus is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and their ability to manufacture them, as well as the threat posed by their Navy to global shipping. That's their objective. That said, we would not mind, we would not be heartbroken, and we hope that the Iranian people can overthrow this government and establish a new future for that country. We would love for that to be possible. But the objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and of their naval capabilities.
Are you saying, based on that, are you saying that there is no responsibility, no plan for the U.S. to at least play a role in whatever government comes next?
We might. We'll see how circumstances play out. But I'm telling you what the objectives of this operation are. The objectives of this operation are to destroy their ballistic missile capability and make sure they can't rebuild it, and make sure that they can't hide behind that to have a nuclear program. That's the objective of the mission. That said, abundantly clear, we would love for there to be an Iran that's not governed by radical Shia clerics. As I've said myself repeatedly for years, the leadership of that country does not reflect the people of Iran, and I think that's been pretty apparent in the protests that you've seen. If there's something we can do to help them down the road, we'd obviously be open to it, but that's not the objective. The objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capability.
Okay, and there it is. If we're going after the ballistic missiles, and Iran has a lot of them, that's a mission objective. And then they can't launch them at U.S. assets anymore. Then they can't launch them into Iraq anymore. Then they can't launch them all over the Middle East anymore. Then they can't block the Strait of Hormuz anymore with their ships because we took out their entire navy. Then they can't launch them at Israel. And we need all the allies to come defend them. We are taking out their ballistic missiles technology. And also, the fact is then, if they get a nuclear weapon, they can't put it inside a ballistic missile. So it's to stop them from having a nuclear weapon. It's to stop them from having ballistic missiles. But what he said was very, very clear there. The Iranian people have to rise up at some point. Defending yourself, attacking somebody to defend yourself is not being the aggressor. That's defending yourself. Today, or tonight, I should say rather, starts the Jewish holiday of Purim. If you don't know the Jewish holiday of Purim, it's the one I call Jewish Halloween, even though they have very little in common, but there's a lot of costumes in common. On Saturday, there's a special portion of the Bible that we read every year before the Jewish holiday of Purim. And it's about remembering what Amalek did to the Jews when they came out of Egypt. What it is the Jews have the plagues and have the splitting of the sea and have defeated the superpower of the time, which is the Egyptians. And they come out from the sea, and what happens? Amalek, the nation of Amalek, is waiting for them, attacks them from behind where the women and children are. They wait for the army to pass them by, then they attack everybody from behind, and we have a commandment to remember what Amalek did to us, that that's what evil is, attacking the women and the children. The modern-day descendants of Amalek, we know throughout biblical history, we had many occasions where they cropped up. One of them was Haman. Haman is the one in the book of Esther who tries to wipe out all the Jews. What is the decree? Kill all the Jews throughout the entire land, from Hodu to Kush, which is basically the entire continent of Asia, all the way over to Africa and India. That's basically what it was at the time. Kill any Jew who's living there. What happened was Esther tells the king what's going on. The king executes Haman, And then after that, he sends out the decree, the Jews can defend themselves throughout the land. Now we have the right to defend ourselves? Well, thank you very much, and we did, and we won the war. But the modern-day descendants of Amalek, that story happened in the Persian Empire. The modern-day descendants of Amalek are the people who are like the Ayatollah, or the people who are like Hamas, or the people who are like the Hezbollah, or the people who are like all these different evil regimes. They're not just trying to kill Jews, they're trying to kill good. They're trying to kill those Judeo-Christian values that are throughout the world, that have been the biggest bringer of light in world history, success, prosperity, and freedom. And there are so many people who try to stop that. And there are so many people who try to stop freedom and prosperity. We have a nation built on Judeo-Christian values, and that's what we were defending. That's what we were defending. The looks on the faces of my friends who are Iranian, and the people I met yesterday who are Iranian, and the people who are tired of living under this terrorist threat that's in the Middle East, that's been there for years, that wants to destroy America, that wants to destroy Israel, that wants to destroy anybody who won't follow Sharia law. Defending yourself against terror, defending yourself against somebody who wants to kill you is not being the aggressor. That's being defensive. And thank God President Trump did that. Thank God this administration did that, because for 50 years, Reagan had the opportunity, he didn't do it. Bush Sr. had the opportunity, he didn't do it. Clinton had the opportunity, he didn't do it. Bush Jr. had the opportunity, he didn't do it. Barack Obama had the opportunity, he didn't do it. And now you have an entrenched terrorist regime, which is going to take a lot more effort to get rid of, because nobody dealt with this problem years ago. How much worse would it have been if one day we wake up and a nuclear bomb blew up in Seattle or New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or anywhere else in the world? Because, oh, well, they killed a few Americans. Let's just send in a Tomahawk missile up a camel's rear end or something and we'll be fine. This is history we are watching. And I got this from one of our listeners, Jeff. My wife was 7 years old at the time of the bombing, and this is the Kenyan embassy bombings, and she was with her grandmother in the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi. That day, finalizing their paperwork to immigrate to the United States. Luckily, they were at the other end of the complex and were able to escape unharmed. There are real people who weren't so lucky. There are real people who didn't survive that. There are so many people who are now living free, millions of people in Iran who have the chance at freedom, because the Ayatollah is gone. For anybody who says this is a bad thing, they do not understand history. They never studied history, and they don't understand the significance of what happened. And to prove my point, my friends, when we come back, a whole bunch of lunatics out in Seattle are out there protesting for the Ayatollah over the weekend. We'll tell you about the latest lunacy when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570, KVI. It's very nice that so many of you are concerned about my sons. They're fine. Thank God. Thank you very much for asking. One son's in the IDF. The other son is studying abroad in Israel. The first video, I don't know what broads he's studying. The first video I saw was my son on Saturday night. There's a video of them down in the bomb shelter in Israel. And there's a drum set down there for some reason. I assume that's what they do, because that's what you want to do, play drums when you're in a bomb shelter. But it's him and all the kids singing and dancing while he plays the drums when they found out the Ayatollah is dead. They're fine. Thank you so much for asking. Really do appreciate it. What was the top story I saw locally? Because, you know, locally they got to find an angle to approach what's happening overseas. This was the one that Como News came up with. Iran's participation in Seattle World Cup match up in the air following U.S. strikes. This is what we have to worry about. The World Cup. I'm just making sure this is what we're concerned about. You know, I seem to remember a few months ago when we found out that the World Cup match that was going to be here in Seattle was going to be between Iran and Egypt, but it was going to be Pride Night because of Seattle, and nobody wanted to call that out in the mainstream media or Katie Wilson or anybody else, that you have these countries that despise LGBTQIA people, and you're having Pride Night for them. There was going to be a riot. You know what? You may have just stopped a riot from happening in Seattle, because that's what would have happened if you bring out all the Pride stuff when you have a bunch of Iranians and Egyptians. Hey, you know what might happen now? Now you might be able to have your Pride Night. If all of a sudden you got a Western thinking country in place of the Ayatollah, this is what everybody's got to be worried about. Okay, guys, this is number, 65 on a list of 64 things. Okay, the World Cup. Oh no, what are we going to do about the World Cup? As always, the activists around here who do love soccer, I always see them Antifa flags at the soccer games around here. The activists here held an emergency rally over the weekend. Hands off Iran, an emergency rally. Who's sponsoring this thing? Hang on a second. Should we look at some of the groups here? Let's just blow up this little flyer here. Oh, Super UW. You mean the group that caused over $1 million worth of damage to the engineering building? $50,000 to the Husky Union building? Democratic Socialists. Interesting. Veterans for Peace. So a whole bunch of people wearing keffiyehs in these pictures. So you mean to tell me that it wasn't about being pro-Palestine? It was just being anti-American? It was just being pro-terror? Because that's what it sounds like to me. All the same activist groups. This is what they're mad about this time. This is what they got to be upset about. Meanwhile, some people are taking this to the next level. I don't know if you saw this crazy story from King 5, and some people sent me the video of this. Police are investigating after witnesses say a man pulled a firearm and threatened anti-Iranian regime demonstrators during a rally Sunday afternoon at Bellevue Downtown Park. Organizers told King 5 that the event drew hundreds of people connected to the Voice of Iran, a Bellevue-based group that regularly holds demonstrations calling for regime change in Iran. Sunday's rally was reportedly celebratory, following the news that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had been killed in a joint U.S.-Israel airstrike on Saturday. Saghar Amini, one of the demonstrators, told the outlet that she was dancing near the sidewalk after a caravan of supporters drove through the area waving American, Israeli, and Iranian flags. She heard shouting from a car stopped nearby. And a man in the passenger seat of a dark-colored BMW yells at the demonstrators as the vehicle moves past and turns right. The car stopped at some point, and you can see the guy very, very, very clearly has a firearm on him and points it at the people who are protesting. What was he chanting as the vehicle tore away? Free Palestine. This has nothing to do with anything over there. This has everything to do with the Iranian regime. But free Palestine, free Palestine. Bellevue Police Department spokesperson said that the investigators have not confirmed whether the weapon was pointed directly at anybody, but many witnesses at this thing have told me that, yes, it 100% were. Then he zips away. Now, the license plate is very clearly visible in this video. If you have police enhancement I reached out to the Bellevue Police Department earlier today to find out what the story was. And, here we go. Got some updates right here. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. This is the one I got here. I can confirm the department is currently investigating this incident from the weekend, and they're going to send me a copy of the police report, which we know everything in the police report. We just want to know if there's an actual suspect they're pursuing right now. When we come back, your reaction to what's going on in the Middle East. Some of you got some stories to tell. We'll have that. Plus, also, we'll have the reaction from all these lunatic lefties, especially the hypocrites in Washington, D.C., that seem to have forgotten what they defended before now they're attacking Trump and his administration. We'll tell you what's going on. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It's really incredible to me how many people in Washington, D.C. are being intentionally ignorant of history. So they're now all critical of what's going on, of what President Trump is doing. I did like this text we got from Jeff and Kent. I'm just waiting for Senators Murray and Cantwell to open up a GoFundMe for the Ayatollah's family. You're not wrong from their insane tweets. I'm so lucky that here in the studio, we have ourselves our very own time machine. So let's fire that sucker up, get that DeLorean up and running, set the time circuits back to 2022. Why do we want to go back to 2022? Well, let's see. That was when Jen Psaki was the press secretary for Joe Biden. Let's hear what she had to say. Jen, Psaki it to me, baby.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is what we knew it was during the deal, to just a few weeks or less.
Oh, wait, you mean they almost had a nuclear weapon? And what did Joe Biden do in response? Oh, right, he gave them millions of dollars. Oh, excuse me, billions of dollars, just like Barack Obama. The Iran deal, this is the worst meme I've seen going around. It's Trump blew up Iran so he could pressure them into the deal that Barack Obama had. Do you know what the Iran deal was under Barack Obama? Here's what it was. If we give you some money, will you not develop that nuclear weapon for 10 years? With no safeguards, with no guardrails, with no anything. That's what the deal was. So we're paying terrorists. One of the first things President Trump did when he came into office the first time was get us out of that stupid mess and cut off the funds and sanction Iran. What's one of the first things Joe Biden did when he got back into office? Put that funding back, give Iran a ton of money. Oh, and look, that led to October 7th. That led to other terrorist attacks. Oh, you mean you give money to the #1 state sponsor of terror? They're going to go fund terror? No. Really? There was this president. I can't remember his name. It was relatively recently. He had an interesting take on all this, too.
Yet, while I believe I have the authority to carry out this military action without specific congressional authorization.
Whoa! Whoa, wait a minute. I assume the Democrats like Nancy Pelosi came down really hard on Barack Obama for saying something like that, because after all, they're coming down really hard on President Trump, right?
So, Madam Speaker, Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. He was the droner in chief. What did he drop? Like 30,000 bombs on all these different countries without any congressional authority whatsoever? And now the Democrats are trying to make it seem like, oh, President Trump didn't have the authority to do this? Let's go back to their sacred cow, Hillary Clinton. Let's see how she wants to deal with Iran.
And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
So we've got the official stamp of approval from Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Nancy Pelosi. Can you think of any other higher profile Democrats than those three? Come on, guys. This is nonsense what they're spewing on the other side. What are they mad about? They want something to be mad about. That's what it is. Trump can do no right. If Trump cured cancer tomorrow, the Democrats would claim that he is being discriminatory against cancer because it's a minority cell. They would be mad about this. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Chris, who's driving in his car. Chris, what's happening, man?
All right, thanks for taking my call. It's like I told your producer, 47 years ago, a week ago, I was one of the last of 168 Americans evacuated out of Iran. I was living and working in a city called Kermanshah out near the Iraqi border. And I barely made it out of there. So here we are 47 years later, and I find it fascinating that our 47th president is taking them down.
I love that connection. I love that connection right there. What were you doing in Iran at the time?
I was working a military contract. We were training the Iranian army. It was there's a lot of Americans over there, but it's as the revolution slowly and slowly kept getting worse, they kept telling us the American embassy, the military, and you got to remember the military was loyal to the Shah. And they always told us, when the military gives up being loyal to the Shah, we know it's over. And that's what happened. And that's what Trump is telling them to do today. He's telling the military, give up your arms.
Yep.
And lay down. And it's the same thing. And hopefully they get Reza Pahlavi back in there. I don't know what will happen, but I just love what's going on. We told our Iranian friends back then we said, you guys will regret what you're doing.
Mhm.
And they said, oh, no, we don't want the Shah anymore. No, this is all good. No, Iran is not an Islamic country. It's many different religions.
Let me ask you
Islam,
this. Yeah, it's got a whole
Christian.
bunch of stuff there. I mean, look, tons of Jews fled the place. They
Right.
don't have the Jewish population they used to
Yes.
have. Let me ask you this, Chris.
Exactly.
When you
Yes.
heard my opening segment talking about the history and how many people are ignoring the history, you think I was right on the mark,
Right.
or you think I'm off base on that?
Oh, no, you're right on the money there, Ari. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Persia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Persia.
Exactly.
People don't realize their history goes back thousands of years. Yeah.
Right. They don't even think about that at all. And really, it's going to come down to the Iranian people. They have to rise up and they have to do this because we can't do this ourselves. We're not good at nation building. We like to think that we are, but we're really, really not. Chris, God bless you, my friend. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show.
Thanks.
You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, you've been absent a while, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Really happy that Iran is being liberated. It's a damn shame all these women's rights people are not cheering and saying, thank you, troops, support our troops. And for that matter, let me be extremely clear here, and I'm sorry for any offense to any of your listeners there, but supporting our troops is not supporting President Trump on all other issues like tariffs, Supreme Court appointments, the list goes on. And I think it's really sad that when our men and women are right now flying into harm's way and dealing with fratricide, as we dealt with this morning, because there's no such thing as friendly fire.
Did you see the video, Joe? Did you see the one of the pilot who ejected and landed on the beach in Kuwait, and the Kuwaitis came to help her? I thought you'd like that video. Did you see that one?
Oh, I've shared it quite a few times.
That's a great, great video. It really is. Our brave men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces. If you haven't seen it, go look for this on social media. The woman has just jumped out of an airplane. She's parachuted down onto a beach. And a man in Kuwait comes up to her. Are you okay? Can we help you? God bless America. How can we help you? How can we? It's really a great video. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. By the way, not only the Democrats who are being out of their minds, the media as well. Oh, but I repeat myself. Up next, my friends, the Washington Post and the New York Times beclown themselves with their headlines over the Ayatollah. You would think they just lost a relative. I'll give you all details when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. On this show today, I've only talked about the deaths of Americans caused by the Ayatollah. I haven't even mentioned the other people who were killed, the thousands of others, if not millions of others in his own country that he killed. So you would think this awful dictator monster would get some mention of his terrorist ways when the New York Times is writing up his obituary. You know what I think at this point? I think at this point, the New York Times knows that we're all going to get mad about it and they're going to get more clicks. I think that's really what it is. You all remember austere religious scholar? Remember that nonsense? Well, looks like they haven't improved that much. Here we go. Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, hardline cleric who made Iran a regional power, is dead at 86. They described him, because it's the New York Times, as avuncular and magnanimous. Oh, the terrorist leader who's killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, is so magnanimous. Quote, with his spectacles, Palestinian keffiyeh, long robes, and silver beard, Ayatollah Khomeini cast himself as a religious scholar. Do you guys have these things just on repeat? You have an AI do it for you? Hey, AI, write me an obituary the way we've done other obituaries for horrible people before. As well as a writer and translator of works on Islam. He affected a vernacular and magnanimous aloofness, running the country from a perch above the jousting of daily politics. That's how they described a guy who would imprison you if you're gay or throw you off a rooftop or hang you from a crane. That's how they described a guy whose religious police would beat women if they were out in public after certain hours or driving a car. That's how they describe this monster. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? This is freaking insane, this nonsense. I mean, really, absolutely crazy. No matter how much you hate the lamestream media, you do not hate them enough. Do you know how they described Scott Adams, the one who used to write the Dilbert cartoons? Do you know how they described him? Oh, Scott Adams, whose comic strip Dilbert was a sensation until he made racist comments on his podcast, has died at 68. So Scott Adams gets mentioned about his racist comments that weren't really that racist. But the Ayatollah, oh, he's just another austere religious scholar. Just an austere religious scholar. No matter how much you hate the lamestream media, you don't hate them enough. This is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. Between the New York Times and the Washington Post, give me a break. This is the nonsense they are spewing. Cancel your subscriptions. Does anybody still have subscriptions to the New York Times or the Washington Post? Just cancel your subscriptions. Meanwhile, saw this one here, and tell me if this surprises you at all. This, according to the Post Millennial, a transgender identifying individual from Everett, Washington, has been indicted by a federal grand jury after allegedly threatening to kill President Donald Trump. 20-year-old Philip Richard Wharton, who goes by the name of Sadie, dude, you ain't fooling anybody, was indicted on Wednesday on charges of threatening a federal official. According to court documents, Wharton made multiple social media posts in August and September of 2025, threatening to kill the president. One post on August 19th included a photo that read, "What the guy in the White House sees after I kill the president of the United States of America and wear his face as a mask." Holy cow. Got some real Silence of the Lambs business going on there. A September 23rd post read, "My name is Sadie Online. I'm going to kill the president tomorrow. This is not a joke, but a confession admissible in the court of law." Not very bright either, this one. Tell me again how this stuff isn't a mental disease, a mental illness. A criminal complaint revealed that the U.S. Capitol Police alerted the Secret Service after the first post. Investigators later linked the account to Wharton. On September 8th, Secret Service agents went to an address in Everett associated with Wharton and spoke with his father. According to the complaint, his father called his son, and Wharton began laughing as they argued on the phone. The complaint says Wharton told agents he made the post because he believed Trump was involved in the sex trafficking of two 14-year-olds, referencing Jeffrey Epstein. Just weeks later, after the Secret Service came to his house, he posted the second threat. Images from Wharton's social media from October also show him holding a firearm. A complaint was filed in November charging him with 2 counts of threatening a federal official, and an arrest warrant was issued the exact same day. Wow. Washington State making the national news again. Aren't we all so proud of this? Are we just so proud that we're always in the national news over things like this? By the way, Seattle Times wasn't any better with this kind of stuff. Seattle Times, we're going to discuss them later in the day about how now they're trying to take the side of the kids who are walking out of school to protest. The lunatics over at the Seattle Times. Tell you the truth, though, have you looked at a Seattle Times recently? I unfortunately have to from time to time. Have you noticed how thin that sucker is? I'm guessing they're not getting a lot of ads, but I'm guessing more so than that, they're not doing a lot of original content reporting. Do they still have a sports section? Yes? No? Maybe so? Are there any sports going on this time of year? Seahawks are done. Kraken are still playing, right? We don't have baseball right now. So that might be the only thing worth reading in the Seattle Times, because what's the rest of the paper? Well, let's see. This article we got off the wire service on the Washington Post about the austere religious scholar with the bushy beard. Oh, this article here from the New York Times about the austere religious scholar who just translate books on Islam. Can you imagine if these guys were writing the obituaries of Hitler today? Fine, Adolf Hitler, fine painter, dead in Germany at the age of whatever. Can you imagine if they were doing that? This is why the lamestream media is dying. Because a guy who is responsible for the deaths of over 1,000 Americans, let alone, I don't even know his full body count yet. I should really ask ChatGPT tonight to do the math on the Ayatollah's body count, perhaps millions of other people. And yet the Democrats and the media are talking about this guy like he's a saint. Like he's a saint. You know the worst one? Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, who said that, what was exactly his language? It was something to the effect of, well, at least he never bent the knee to Israel. That's what he said about the Ayatollah. Got to give him credit. Didn't bend the knee to Israel. No, really, just killed lots of people in his quest to destroy Israel. People have absolutely lost their minds. And speaking of people who lost their minds, while everybody was paying attention to the Middle East, the Washington State Democrats were passing more insane taxes on you. And when we come back, we're going to get into everything that they did, what they're doing, and how they have shown they absolutely have no heart whatsoever. We'll tell you all about it next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, what does the polling say about all this stuff going on in the Middle East? We'll do a deep dive into all of it. But before we get to any of that, you know, I told you earlier in the show, everybody's looking for an angle. How can we make this local? How can we make this a local story? What can we do about this? By the way, I didn't see a lot of people covering the the anti-Iranian regime protests. I didn't see a lot of people covering that. I saw a lot of them covering the pro-Ayatollah protests, but I didn't see them covering a lot of the anti-Ayatollah protests. That's a local angle. You could go that way. Did you guys see that video that went viral? I think it was out of Texas, where CBS told their reporter, stop covering what's going on there with the protest. Did you guys see this? So behind him are thousands of people protesting the Ayatollah, supporting Israel, supporting America, supporting President Trump, and the bigwigs in his office are saying, no. Like, don't give them that much coverage. Don't give them that much attention. No matter how much you hate the media, you don't hate them enough. So here's what Cairo 7 tried to do to make this more local. Gas prices in Washington are on the rise, alongside with the rest of the nation, as tensions are escalating in the Middle East after the U.S. and Israel carried out airstrikes on Iran over the weekend. I actually was joking with people when I heard about this. On Saturday night, I said, go get gas now. You should go do it. Are gas prices on the rise here because of Iran, or are gas prices on the rise here because of bad Democrat policies? First of all, let's just remind everybody, gas prices nationally are at record lows thanks to President Trump and his focus on unleashing American energy. Can we be real about this for a second? Let's start right there. Second of all, we know that gas prices are on the rise here in Washington thanks to the Climate Commitment Act. Oh, they'll lie to you and they'll say, oh, it's a special blend of fuel. It's a summer blend. And the summer blend is more expensive. Really? Idaho doesn't use the summer blend? Why aren't their gas prices over $5 a gallon? Why is that, do you figure? So, the thing that's creating more problems now is the shutdown of these refineries in California. 2 oil refineries are closing in California, not because they weren't making money, but because California's onerous restrictions have made it so hard to operate in California, they need to shut down. So now we need to compete with Oregon, and we need to compete with California to get our gas up here. On top of that, you've got the insane Climate Commitment Act, where now all the money is not actually going to doing anything to fix the climate. Instead, what's it going to? Democrat pet projects on climate change. So as much as they want to say what's happening here is because of the Middle East, very, very little of what's going on here has anything whatsoever to do with the Middle East. But while you were paying attention to the Middle East over the weekend, you may not have noticed what happened in the Washington state legislature. On Saturday, after over 6 hours of debate, Democrats still rammed through, as Travis Couture describes it, their reckless, irresponsible, and harmful budget. All Republicans and even a handful of Democrats voted no for this insane budget, which includes $2 billion more in reckless spending. I thought you guys said we had a budget crisis. So you add more spending when you have a budget crisis? Shall we go through the list of things they are spending money on, shall we? $4.3 million for trans surgeries for prison inmates. Laser hair removal for prison inmates. How about the money from the Arts Commission? By the way, the Arts Commission is our very own USAID slush fund. That's what the Arts Commission here is in Washington. They are giving thousands of dollars to a studio that does stripper yoga. Stripper yoga. That's right. That's what we're spending the money on. You put that together with the drinking in the legislature, you got yourself a hell of a good time. Stripper yoga and drinks in the legislature. We should have stripper yoga in the legislature. Probably be cheaper than renting a studio. Let's not forget Rain City Jacks, the self-service station for men who like to pleasure themselves and each other, which gets thousands of dollars from the Washington Arts Commission. I don't even want to know about that. Exactly. I'm sure they're having that. Does the Arts Commission pay for the alcohol in the legislature? Man, this legislation, this budget, is like it was done by a whole bunch of drunk people. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Did that hit too close to home? Sorry about that. Exactly. All right, what else are we spending the money on? $2 billion more in new taxes. So after doing the largest tax increase in state history last year, $2 billion more in new taxes, including the income tax, so we can continue paying for the drunken members of the legislature, so we can continue paying for the stripper yoga, so we can continue paying for all this. That's great. Oh, did I mention the $4 billion in the pension raid? That's right. They're raiding the Left One pension fund for all the first responders. $880 million drain of the rainy day fund. $1 billion cut to Medicaid, including assisted living. You think they're going to blame Trump for that one? Guarantee you they will. $250 million cut to K through 12, which is going to impact rural areas the most. The most. By the way, Republicans offered 20 amendments that weren't adopted by the Democrats, but would have at least cut some of the wasteful spending. They proposed $2.1 billion in property tax relief, $200 million no tax on Christmas sales tax holiday, up to $900 per vehicle per year gas tax rebate. So that just goes to show you that the Democrats are greedy bastards and won't give up all that Climate Commitment Act money they made. Reforming the Keeping Families Together Act. All right, let's stop right here for a second. The Keeping Families Together Act. We have had Travis Couture on the show 3 or 4 times about this specifically this year alone. This year alone. What is this harmful, terrible, awful, no good, very bad legislation which is killing kids? So the Keeping Families Together Act was passed 3-4 years ago. And it was passed bipartisan. I don't think Republicans realized what they were voting for. They've been trying to fix it ever since. What does it do? It basically makes it impossible for you to take a kid out of the home of a drug addict. Basically makes it completely impossible. So kids are dying because they're in the home of the drug addicts. What was the Democrats' solution for all this? Oh, let's give them lock boxes so the drug addict can put the drugs in the lock box and then the kids will be fine. Yeah, tell me you don't know anything about drug addiction without telling me you don't know anything about drug addiction. You think a person who's a drug addict is in the right state of mind to go, you know, before I shoot this heroin into my arm, I really got to remember to put away the rest of my heroin in the lockbox. Oh, you know what? Before I do whatever I do with this fentanyl, I really got to make sure to lock up the rest of it. Then, you know, very responsibly pop the pill in the corner while my kids are home and I'm not watching them. Are you kidding me? So kids are ingesting this stuff. Kids are dying. Also, drug addicts are doing crazy things to their kids and killing them. You put those two things together, you have a massive, massive body count. Representative Travis Couture gave a really, really impassioned speech. I wish I could play the whole thing for you. It's 10 minutes long. I'll make sure to share it on social media because nobody's been championing to fix this more than him. I'm going to take this one little piece right here, this one little piece, which I want you to listen to.
And Madam Speaker, I don't have to ask permission to read. I've been living in these fatality reports until I want to throw up every night. Baby Otis, Raleigh and Kennewick, Oakley Carlson, the baby in Whatcom County. Sometimes these babies don't even have names. And when you look at the fatality report, Madam Speaker, it's just a black line, another government statistic. They had a whole life ahead of them. They didn't often start off life very well. Born addicted to drugs. And it's not just fentanyl. It's meth laced with fentanyl. In my first session, DCYF gave 2 little boys back to a mother in Tacoma. A 6-year-old boy died and was found deceased next to his alive brother because the mother tased and beat that boy to his death while she was on meth. And I was told at the time by Department of Children, Youth, and Families, that's unfortunate, Representative. We should have just had more services. Are you kidding me?
That's bad enough. That is bad enough, but it gets worse. State Representative Julia Reed, Democrat from Seattle. People noticed that while Representative Travis Couture was giving this very, very, very impassioned speech about dead children, she was posting on her phone. She wasn't posting on X because she left X because Elon Musk is evil. Instead, she's posting on Blue Sky. Here's what she wrote. Starting off the 20-plus Republican amendments on this bill, since Republicans don't have the ability to stop the budget bill, this debate is their chance to air their grievances, conspiracy theories, and try to force us into a disingenuous roll call votes they can clip to make us look bad. Really? Really? That's what this is about? Children are literally dying, and you guys are doing nothing about it at all. Then she's mad that she has to listen to them. So she wrote, unfortunately, the 3-minute rule doesn't kick in until Monday. So we have to listen to up to 10 minutes of the most lurid Republican talking points you can ever imagine per speaker. Dead children because of Democrat policies. Dead children. And yet she is posting on Blue Sky how she's mad she has to listen to their names. How she's mad she has to listen to Republicans. You know what? We should just get rid of opposition entirely. Entirely. Republicans shouldn't even bother showing up next year because clearly the Democrats do not care about the 40% of people here in Washington state that do vote for Republicans. She takes all of them for granted. Doesn't care what any of them have to say. This is the real Democrat Party here in Washington state. They don't care at all. Are you surprised? You and I have to live within our means. Democrats don't want to be called out for it. If you call out the Democrats for the fact that they are not living in their means, oh, you're a bot. You're a bot. Oh, there's fraud with the amount of people who registered against all this stuff. You're just a bot. Just a bot. So the Washington Senate Republicans put out this graphic, which shows that Seattle's top income tax rate would be the nation's highest under the new taxes. That's right. We're going to be number one again here in Washington, thanks to the Democrats, with the highest tax rates in the nation, in the country. Our friend Steve Gordon wrote this. He said, last Thursday, I had dinner with Governor Brad Little of Idaho. We own an outlet and a good piece of property there we'd like to develop. Upon introducing myself in my home of Washington, he laughed and stated, you know, I used to offer tax incentives to get Washington businesses to move to Idaho. We quit doing that the last few years. Honestly, I wish you guys would quit doing so many dumb things. We're running out of room. He was very happy to hear we're looking at developing our property and going to expand our location. He said this morning I had a call with the governor of Montana. When I mentioned how much we love visiting Montana, he offered to put his head of economic development in touch to look about informing me of all they're working on there. He mentioned a larger, unnamed Washington-based company with significant employee base they think will be moving there soon. He said, Steve, there's a lot of people and businesses from Washington coming here. Steve wrote, for the last 40 years, our family has spent time down in Arizona as a gateway during the long winters in Washington. We know a significant home developer there, and we're visiting with one of his associates that sells higher-end homes. He volunteered that they have been flooded with calls from Washington residents of late, and their last 10 large deals, 8 were Washington refugees moving to Arizona for good. Also connected with a family that owned and operated a business in the South Sound for over 100 years. Most of them moved out of state. Soon after selling the business a few years ago, they are actively in the process of pulling out any family resources to any state but Washington. Instead of building and investing their longtime home, they are reluctantly leaving and putting those resources to work elsewhere for the next 100 years. Steve writes, you'd have to be drunk to not realize what's going on. He's not wrong at all, because that's how bad it is. Other states have income taxes, corporate income taxes, et cetera, but they're all lowering taxes, not raising or adding massive new categories on top of the current tax regime. This is how bad it is. And the Democrats pretend like nothing's going on at all. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our friend Alma in Kenmore. Alma, what's going on, my darling? How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. And yourself?
Oh, I'm just peachy. The sun is out. Spring is around the corner. We get to sit outside on our decks again soon, right?
Hopefully. I don't have one.
Oh.
But you know, Ari.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has come up. The so-called president started an unprovoked war over their 40 children so far died. We really don't know.
Wait a second.
And talking
Wait, Alma. What number is this 40 children?
It was 40 children in a school.
Yeah, you know who bombed the school.
In Iran.
Hang on. Do you know who bombed the school? Because it wasn't the U.S. or Israel.
But I know it wouldn't have happened if Trump wouldn't have started this war like
Alma, I'm not going to ask your age. I was told it's impolite to ask a woman her age, right?
I'm 80 in November. I'm 80 years old in November.
Okay.
How you gonna ask me?
All right. I wasn't going to ask you that, Alma. I was raised to believe. My mother told me it's impolite. I wasn't going to do that. So, Alma, you've been around longer than the Iranian regime has. They've killed 1,000 Americans over that course of that time, let alone hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other people. The U.S. started this war?
Yes, you know your President Trump started because he was in with Netanyahu. But okay, talk about fentanyl. They taking health.
Wait, hang on. Back up, Alma. Back up, Alma. Okay? God bless you. You've had 80 blessed years on this planet. You have children and grandchildren.
I have 80 more.
80 more, please, God. And you get to call the Ari Hoffman Show anytime you want, and we put you at the front of the line every time, which I think is even better than anything else.
And I really appreciate that.
Okay, but I'll tell you this, Alma. You remember when the Ayatollah came to power. You remember them seizing those American hostages and keeping them in that embassy for 440 days. You remember the hundreds of U.S. Marines they killed in those barracks. This is something that's been going on for years, and nobody, here you go, Alma, you're going to hear me be bipartisan for a second. Neither Democrat nor Republican, neither Democrat nor Republican president dealt with it until now. What about the women who suffer under Sharia law? Saying that President Trump, so saying that President Trump started this war, he didn't start this war. No. He's finishing this war.
Why he didn't go to the Congress like he's supposed to? Why he just take up his own and do things, and then he got up today.
Hang on.
Those gold
Alma, do you think that Barack Obama did the right thing going into Pakistan to get Osama bin Laden?
Yes.
Did he get congressional approval?
He's a very intelligent man. He wouldn't do it just for the show.
Well, hang on. Did he get congressional approval before raiding a foreign country?
We really don't know.
He didn't.
Don't know if he did or not.
He didn't, Alma. He didn't at all.
Listen, Trump didn't even listen to the Supreme Court. He think he on his own. But you know what, Ari? I'm going to say this, and thank you for letting me voice myself. His day is coming.
Oh, Alma, let's not do threats on the show here, okay? Let's not do that, Alma. You're better than that, Alma. Let's not do that. Let's do this instead. Hang on. I want to see how much we can agree. We're going to come to a détente here, okay? Do you agree that it's a good thing that women don't live under Sharia law?
Yeah, no, it's a good thing we don't live under those kind of laws anymore. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Fantastic. So we agree on that, okay? Do you think it's a good thing that, please God, the Iranian people will be able to control their own destiny and not live under an Ayatollah's vicious, brutal dictatorship?
No, this war is going to go on for a long time, baby. And no, they're not under Ayatollah's still, but they are. And as far as women having the right to do what they do, and if we get under Trump, he's going to take everything. He's taking everything away from us.
Alma, the Democrats are talking about passing an income tax on you. On you. The Democrats here in Washington want to take the money you're going to spend on your kids, your grandkids, your house, your everything. This is why you don't have a deck. You could have a patio if not for the Democrats.
No, I don't want a deck. I'm coming to visit you and sit on your deck.
I appreciate the call. God bless you, Alma. Love having these conversations with you. You have a wonderful day, okay? All right, you take care. God bless you as well. I love when Alma calls, by the way. And by the way, if you want to have a debate on any of this stuff with the Iran stuff, now's your chance. You want to ask a question about it? You want to debate it? You want to say, Ari, look, I think the Ayatollah is a bad guy, but I think you got it wrong? You give me a call. We will talk it out. You can do that. Because apparently not everybody agrees with me. There's some polling out there that actually shows that a lot of Americans disagree with me. And we're going to dive into that when we get back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I'll say, got a lot of texts from you guys about Alma. And some of you are questioning why I let people like Alma on the show. Number one, I believe in freedom of speech when people disagree with us. Number two, I believe that the way we fix the schism in this country is by having discussions with people who disagree with us, who engage in good faith. Alma has plenty of other things she could do with her time than call the Ari Hoffman Show. And she calls. It's like Protester Bennett or Transit Joe or anybody else, okay? They have other things they could be doing with their day. We have to have these conversations so that civility is not gone. Here's something else. When I have these conversations, it helps me work on my skills of debating people who disagree with me. And I like having those skills. And I hope that you gain something from them as well. And I know a lot of you, like when I used to be a consumer of talk radio before I had my own show, are probably yelling, why didn't you say this? And why didn't you say that? Well, because a lot of stuff just comes off the top of my head, my friends. I do not expect people to call when they call. I now have an understanding of the people I used to be like, how do you not say that on air? Because it's what comes to mind in the moment, my friends. You don't always have every source you want in front of you when the calls come. I said, anybody who has any question about what's going on in the Middle East right now, or if you disagree with me and think this is a bad thing, feel free to give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
I can tell you that I've been doing this for 26 years now.
Yeah.
And the people who think that they're going to be a really good talk show host are the people that don't have a talk show. So, but
Well,
that's
thank you.
also why we have the open lines here.
Sure, yeah.
Is give it a shot. Give
Other
it a
shows
shot.
don't have open lines. Other shows don't take callers, don't
Yes.
take texts.
Yes.
We do this so you guys can call and agree with me or disagree. We got that beautiful call from Chris earlier in his car about fleeing Iran.
Yeah.
You don't get that without the open lines.
Yeah.
You don't.
And Kirby Wilbur was a caller.
There
he
you
started
go.
as a caller and ended up getting his own show.
Yep, there you go. Exactly right. Here's another one for you. This one here from Jeff and Kent. Jedi Master Hoffman, I love when he does that. Instead of nearly all-out offensive, I wish the U.S. could have done something stealthy like Israel did with the pagers. Okay, so Jeff, that's a great point, and a lot of people want the same thing, but it's a different target. So they did it with Israel. First of all, they were able to get Khomeini and all of his lieutenants in one room. I assume that was Israel helping out with that one. We don't know all the details of this operation yet, but he got him to come above ground. I thought this guy would for sure be out in Russia or something by now hiding out. Managed to get all of them above ground and take them out in one strike, which is just incredible. Absolutely incredible that they were able to do something like that. Plus, don't forget in the last strike, what made it able for the U.S. to bomb the nuclear facility in Fordow was that Israel had taken out a lot of Iran's defensives in advance of that. One of the ways they did that was they built their own drone factory and drone deployment site in Tehran and were able to launch that against the regime. In this case now, you got to take out the launchers and you got to take out the missiles. There's no subtle way to do that. My son was actually taking some video from his apartment, and you just hear the planes going overhead. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I mean, at minimum, there were 500 planes involved on Saturday. Imagine the Blue Angels going past your house. It's nothing compared to the entire Israeli Air Force, joined by the U.S. Air Force, zipping over your house. The video, absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Becky in Enumclaw says, I'm glad for what President Trump is doing. I just don't understand how the protesters are going to rise up and take control because they have no weapons. Great point, Becky. Here's how I think they need to do it. I think they need to go after the local police stations, and the body count's going to be massive. I don't know any other way to do it. Get the weapons out of the local police stations, use them to take the bigger target. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's what you need to do in order to do this. So far, everybody's agreeing with me on the text line about what to do with Iran, but not everybody is. In fact, right here, this poll from Politico, now take this with a grain of salt because it is from Politico, Americans broadly disapprove of the Trump administration's military strikes on Iran. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans say they oppose the decision to take military action against the Middle East country, according to a poll conducted by SSRS for CNN. A separate poll conducted via the Washington Post found that more of half Americans disapprove of the strikes, with 52% opposing and 39% supporting. These are push polls. These are obviously push polls. They have an agenda. But here's something else, is that I'm going to do an informal poll right here on our text line. I'm going to do an informal poll, and we'll go over the results over the course of the show. Do you oppose or do you support the attacks on Iran? Second question. If you oppose them, do you oppose them because you don't want to be in another forever war or some reason like that, but you agree that the Ayatollah should have been gone? You have reservations because other polls aren't like this. That's not what other polls do. Other polls are just yes or no. There's no nuance in them whatsoever. Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Because anybody I've spoken to so far, is in favor of them, or they have reservations. And their reservations are we getting dragged into another years-long conflict? What's the exit strategy? These are all legit questions. I had them at the beginning of the show. I haven't found anybody who's actually opposed to them except for the radical Democrats and the protesters. That's it. And I've seen who they cheer for. So saying that you oppose something makes me like that person more. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Kevin in Federal Way. Kevin, what's up, man?
Shalom Aleichem.
Oh, Aleichem Shalom. What's going on, man?
Well, we've spoken before, and I support what you're saying. And one of the things that I've noticed and I was so encouraged by was when I see that the people that were celebrating what was going on, where I saw 3 flags being flown all throughout different cities.
Mm-hmm.
Star of David,
mm-hmm.
the U.S. flag, and the Iranian flag.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on is what has to happen. And frankly, I believe that there will be an Armageddon someday. And my fear, but I think it's going to be with the Muslim.
So there's actually a concept in the Bible of Milchemet Gog uMagog. Look at me pulling out the Hebrew today. The war between these two big nations, Gog uMagog. And a lot of people during the Cold War thought it was going to be that. During other points in history, they thought it was everybody versus the Nazis or the Axis versus the Allies. And there is a commentary or two that actually think it's going to be with the children of Ishmael. And the question is that what we're going through right now? And this war has lasted decades already. Kevin, appreciate the call. Appreciate your points. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show or part of our poll? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. In fact, a lot of you are sending in texts about whether you support or oppose the war and what your red line is. What do you not want to see? Keep those texts coming. Keep those calls coming at 206-421-5757, because when we come back, we're going to dive into what they say. There's some fascinating stuff here. But also a King County council member, holy cow, she wants to make all of you less safe. This is the one who's in bed with Antifa, so you shouldn't be surprised. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. It's been almost a week since the State of the Union, and so many people are still telling me what a great time they had at our State of the Union event. So just a reminder for everybody, if you missed out on the fun, you don't want to miss out on the next event, head on over to KVI.com right now and sign up to become a KVI Insider. That way you get emails from us and you never miss an event. Also, we don't spam you. We don't send you 20 emails a day or anything like that. When there's something important, we tell you. We don't abuse the privilege or your data. So I asked everybody if you are in support of the attack. Now, I usually get a big difference than what I'm seeing right now. Normally when I ask a question like this, we are a conservative radio station, so I'd say it's usually like a 70-30 in favor of the conservative idea or in favor of the president, or a 60-40. I've actually never seen anything like this before when we've been asking these questions. It's support almost unilaterally across the board. There are some caveats. The 206 wrote this. They support the attack if no troops are on the ground. That's my red line. Fair point, by the way. Fair point. This one here from Eben and Bonnie Lake. I fully support the attack on Iran, and I would start airdropping crates of guns to the protesters so they can fully take it back. That's where I start getting a little mushy. Because for me, I worry about the Mujahideen. Everybody knows who the Mujahideen was? Everybody knows about all this, right? How James Bond and Rambo both helped out the Mujahideen, and that led to 9/11. You've all seen it, right? We've all seen the movie. That's right. Living Daylights. Timothy Dalton as James Bond helps the Mujahideen take down the Russians. I wonder if that guy in the prison cell was actually Osama bin Laden. I don't know. They never answered that question. What about Sylvester Stallone? What about Rambo himself taking down the Mujahideen in Rambo 3? I'd say the weakest of all the Rambo movies. El Darthbo supports the action in Iran. This one here from the 360, I support the attack on Iran. It is long overdue. See, you guys got some great stuff here. This one from the 253, I support this action wholeheartedly. Trump is correct in what he's doing. I am not seeing anybody oppose this at all, except for the caveat they don't want American boots on the ground. In fact, I'll say more people are saying they want American boots on the ground. More people are saying, let's go save those people. I am actually very, very surprised by this. Here, this one here from Robin Lakewood. Bomb away. Bomb, 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 Iran. Former neighbor was held captive in the U.S. Embassy for 444 days. John in Auburn adds in, Ari, I support just keep the bombs from falling from above and keep boots off the ground. That seems to be what everybody's saying here. My God, we never get this kind of stuff. Here we go. Opposition. Here we go. I don't support military action. Why? This is from the 206. Because I feel the Iranian people must somehow get their own independence, but at the same time, I understand we cannot have another Iraq where we arm them for our detriment. There you go. This is, okay, that's the opposition, but you're still kind of saying the same thing. Everybody's kind of saying the same thing. I don't know who did these polls for CNN or for the Washington Post, but normally more people are taking the unpopular position on our text line. I know this is not scientific in any way, shape, or form. This one from Kelly in Seattle. Yes, I'm in favor. I was 16 when the hostages were taken in 1979. Iran funded the attack on October 7th. I was in Tel Aviv that day. I'm sick of Iran. I say payback's a real, I can't say that word on air, ain't it? Yes, I would agree. This one here, I do not want an Islamic caliphate, but vehemently oppose troops on the ground. Yes, this is, okay, so everybody seems to have their red line. And their red line is you don't want U.S. troops on the ground. I agree with you 1,000%. You know who doesn't care about your safety at all? Our very own King County Council member, Teresa Mosqueda. Teresa Mosqueda has a new proposal out, by the way. She's proposing this tomorrow at the King County Council, establish a moratorium on new or expanded detention facilities in unincorporated King County. Prohibit the county from accepting permit applications for the establishment of new or expanding of existing detention facilities. Establish a 1-year moratorium on acceptance of permit applications for these uses. Declare an emergency. Declare an emergency. Yeah, we've never had that abused before. Claiming it's in the public's interest to adopt such a moratorium. How is it in the public's interest not to have more jails? How is it in the public's interest not to have more people in prison? Oh, do you know what this is about? Do you know what this is about, guys? You ready for this? Last week, in Tukwila, there was an application from ICE for a new detention facility. That's what it was. So now she is saying that she doesn't want ICE to be anywhere in King County. Do you understand that? No new facilities in King County. She's trying to stop ICE from being here. That's what Teresa Mosqueda is trying to do. How does that make any of you safer? Does it make any of you safer? Of course not. This is about making illegal aliens safer. If Teresa Mosqueda was a member of Congress, she would have been sitting when President Trump said, "Do you agree with the following statement? If do, stand and show your support. Is your job as a U.S. government official to protect the American citizen or illegal aliens?" And protect American citizens over the illegal aliens. I'm paraphrasing there. Teresa Mosqueda is prioritizing the illegal aliens over you, like the one who killed Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd. That's why she's doing this. Make no mistake about it. That's why she's doing this. When we come back, my friends, lots more to dive into, including the reasons why a third of New Yorkers want to move out of New York. You think Mom Donnie is having that big of an effect already? We'll tell you what's going on next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I love this one right here. This is a text from Rocky. If France had not declared war on Britain in 1778 and Spain joined them in declaring war against Britain in 1779 to enable regime change in North America, we would still be speaking the King's English. That's right. That's why I speak American. That's what we speak here on the Ari Hoffman Show. You know what France is good for these days? It's kind of sad. Yeah, France used to be a real deal. You know what we should use France for? I hear their Air Force is not participating in any of this. You know what they'd be good for? I say we bring them in to teach Iran how to surrender. Isn't that what France is good at right now? We'll teach them how to surrender. That'll be great. That's what we use the frogs for. That's what we'll do. It'll be great. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, switching gear for a minute here, Jesse Jackson's son is mad that the toxic climate in D.C. wouldn't lower the flag for his father, but would lower the flag for Charlie Kirk. Okay, first of all, let's start with this. When your friends are in power, you get extra perks. J.D. Vance, friend of Charlie Kirk's. And you know what? Went and got the body, brought it back, lies in wherever and all that. When you have friends in high places, that's a thing that's going to happen. But here's something else. What did Charlie Kirk do? Charlie Kirk tried to make people more pro-America. Charlie Kirk tried to make people have more love in their country, belief in their country, serve the U.S. military, serve our country, be happy that we grew up in this country, and also have conversations with people. Conversations. What did getting ahead of myself. It's not Al Sharpton, it's Jesse Jackson. Almost got ahead of myself there. Sorry. Almost got ahead of myself there. What did Jesse Jackson do for the United States? Here, I'll make it even easier for you. What did Jesse Jackson do for the black community in the U.S.? Anything? Anything at all? No, seriously, I'm asking. I'm really asking. What has he contributed to this country? If you can name something, you're a better man than I, because all I know is he contributed hate and conflict. That's all I know. That's it. I cannot name for you anything good he did for anybody. Anybody at all. Ugh, Jesse Jackson. Whatever. We don't bash a lot of people when they die, but Jesse Jackson definitely on that list of people. We are, well, I guess for his family, it's very, very sad that the person's gone. Very, very sad. Meanwhile, in New York, apparently 1/3 of New Yorkers are considering moving out of New York. And this is apparently even before Zoran Mamdani took office. They just want to get out of there. 1/3 of New Yorkers, hey, over half the people in Washington have thought about getting out of here. Somebody on the text line said, do they mean New York City or New York State? And that's an interesting point right there. During COVID, when you're cramped in a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom apartment, whatever the case may be, and you have kids and you want to get the hell out of there and you go, what am I doing in New York City with all this insanity going on? A lot of people move to the suburbs. My town of New Rochelle, the last time I went back there to visit, I couldn't believe how many of my friends from high school now live in New Rochelle because they all moved out of the apartments or the city, the 5 boroughs, and they were looking for somewhere suburban. If you got to have the kids home all day, you might as well have a backyard. This one here. So you have all these people who want to move out of New York, and according to the New York Post, 1 in 3 New York residents plan to flee the Empire State within the next 5 years, with most citing the cost of living and declining quality of life as their driving factors. Now, before you get too excited about any of this, I said this after the election. I should really go back and pull the audio. I said, what this election shows me, red states are going to get redder, blue states are going to get bluer. Because the people who probably want out of New York are probably people who align more with you and me than Zoran Mamdani. In a landslide majority, more than 8 in 10 New Yorkers who responded to a Marist poll believe the state is no longer affordable for an average family, up from 82% in 2025. Those high prices fueled 40% of New Yorkers lining up to leave for greener pastures, while 21% cited quality of life. 15% said taxes. Well, that's kind of the affordability. And 10% said politics. 7% said the weather. Okay. The weather in New York is not great, I'll say. It's either freezing cold or ridiculously hot, and you get a couple nice weeks here or there in the fall and the spring. That's about it. The number of New Yorkers wanting to jump the state line increased 1% from Marist's April poll, but was up 27% from 15 years ago. In 2024, 37% of respondents said to the same pollster they were ready to pack up and leave. Wow. From 37% to 88%. That's crazy. The willingness to get out of town was highlighted when more residents moved out of New York and New Jersey than any other state, with most bound for the South and the Pacific Northwest. There you go. That's why we're in trouble out here, because they're all coming out here. That's something you got to be concerned about. Oh, and by the way, if all the conservatives keep leaving these blue states, you're going to guarantee have blue landslides, especially when it comes to congressional elections. A former Republican appointee of President Donald Trump has entered the race to succeed retiring Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi in representing San Francisco, joining an already crowded field, according to the Post-Millennial, after switching her party registration to Democrat. Maria Hurribel is campaigning on a common-sense approach to government. She posted on X, "Today I'm announcing my campaign for Congress to represent San Francisco. I didn't plan to run for office this year, but San Francisco doesn't need more ideological extremes. We need results and reform. I'm running to bring pragmatic, common sense, democratic leadership to Washington, focused on safety, innovation, and affordability. I've stood up to failed policies before, and I'll do it again." Now, I love how everybody is all mad that she worked in the Trump administration. We'll get to her job in the Trump administration for a second. I don't see anybody talking about how she worked as an attorney and interned for Nancy Pelosi. She even described Pelosi as an iconic leader. She said she plans to address affordability, investigate universal basic income to address the threat of artificial intelligence to the labor market. Okay, that doesn't help the problem. Just paying people to sit home on their butts is how you get the people in the floating chairs from WALL-E. That's how you get that. She said Democrats must once again be the party of the working people, focused on lowering costs, not expanding bureaucracy. You know, the guy who's the Democrat who won as mayor in San Francisco won on this kind of platform. She's also taken positions in opposition to many Democrats, including opposing men competing in women's sports. She co-founded Connected SF, a coalition of neighborhood groups focused on improving public safety, and helped elect Mayor Daniel Laurie, who defeated former Mayor London Breed in 2024. She also helped lead the recalls of District Attorney Chesa Boudin and members of the Board of Education. So basically here, she's an old school Democrat. That's what she is, a blue dog Democrat. She was appointed to the board of the Presidio Trust, the federal agency that oversees the famous park near Golden Gate Bridge. So because Trump appointed her to oversee a park in San Francisco, leftists are losing their minds. Leftists are going crazy. You bombed Iran yourself. We know you did it. You're terrible and awful because you were in charge of a park in San Francisco. She reportedly switched her party registration from Republican to Democrat in 2022. The people who are already in the race are having interesting reactions. So you've got Sekat Chakrabarti, who's a former aide to AOC and a multimillionaire. His spokesperson said Maureen is known as someone who speaks her mind and always keeps things interesting. And while our campaign will probably disagree on almost everything, that we have in common is that we know the city and the whole country needs to change. That's a kind of classy way to say it, like welcome to the race kind of thing. But the spokesperson for Scott Wiener, far left Scott Wiener, who's a lunatic, by the way, told the New York Post, Marie is a MAGA Republican Trump appointee who's pretending to be a Democrat. She worked for Nancy Pelosi in an attempt to be taken seriously. We'll add her to Scott's MAGA fan club on our campaign website next to... What the hell is he talking? Wait a second. MAGA fan club? Does this guy actually have a... He actually has a MAGA fan club on his website. This is what you're doing, campaigning on this insanity, rather than actually running on the issues? Sounds like anybody would be better than this guy, Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener is responsible for some of the worst policies in L.A., champions some crazy stuff. Oh, and by the way, when he thinks something's going to get him in trouble, he reverses his principles. So, like, this was a guy who I disagreed with him on literally everything, but he always said Israel had a right to defend itself. Until in a debate, he was called out for it, and then he said, nope, no more. Nope, they don't have a right to do that anymore. Not at all. That's Scott Wiener. That's the kind of guy he is. Here, you should be asking yourselves, my friends, who do you think is going to be the U-Haul salesman of the year? Is it going to be Bob Ferguson? Because I think we're heading down that road. Is it going to be Gavin Newsom in California? Which governor? Tim Walz in Minnesota? Or Kathy Hochul in New York? Who do you think is going to be the U-Haul salesman of the year? Because I think we've got some pretty stiff competition this time around. You know who's got no competition for air superiority? The U.S. and Israel. When we come back, my friends, why exactly are we doing this war? We'll give you a full analysis of that. Plus, what's the exit strategy? How long is this going to last? President Trump has weighed in on all this. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, more vaccine insanity. Just when you thought we were done with that, Turd Ferguson, the Democrats say, no. I think we need a federal intervention again. But before we get to any of that, over the weekend, when I went walking to synagogue, the synagogue security guard sees me coming, and he knows I can't check my phone, and he knows I haven't looked at TV, and he says, I got to talk to you. And I said, what's up, man? The last time you need to talk to me, October 7th happened. What are we talking about today? And he said, no. The U.S. bombed Iran with Israel last night. I go, wait, hang on. The U.S. and Israel bombed Iran? You don't mean like Israel bombed Iran and then the U.S. like kind of defended Israel from the ballistic missiles? That he goes, no. The U.S. and Israel together bombed Iran. And everybody in synagogue, I, of course, went running in there. I'm like a little kid in a movie. I just go in and tell everybody, we bombed Iran. Holy cow, we bombed Iran. And people are getting all excited. Excitement was the feeling. This is a regime that has been killing Americans, been killing Jews, been killing women, been killing people of the LGBTQIA community, been killing so many different kinds of people for decades, for 47 years. They don't like you, they're going to kill you. The number one state sponsor of terror, sponsored Hamas, sponsored Hezbollah, sponsored the Houthi rebels, sponsored ISIS, sponsored as many different terrorists as they could. Of course, them not having a nuclear weapon is a good thing. What's this war about? As laid out by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and President Trump, and Marco Rubio earlier today. Iran has a massive amount of ballistic missiles. We need to stop them from launching them. Do you remember 2 Aprils ago? That's right, 2 Aprils ago. Iran launched hundreds of those missiles at Israel. Did Israel do anything to Iran? No. They were doing things to Iran's proxies because at the time, Israel was too tied up with Hamas and Hezbollah and all the other terrorist groups in the wake of October 7th. And so a whole bunch of Israel's allies came to its defense, including some countries that don't even like Israel very, very much. The Abraham Accords are based on the fact that the Middle East thought that Iran was a bigger problem than the Jews. And they said, we'd rather be in business with the Jews than have to worry about a nuclear Iran, and we'd rather not be on the bad side of Israel. So what happens? They went after the low-hanging fruit. Bahrain, the Emirates, Morocco, other countries like that. How can we get them, and how can we get them in this deal? And the Emirates weren't actually that low-hanging fruit. It was, how do we do this? And it was, well, we'd rather do business with them. So for weeks, in fact, I'd say a year or two after the Abraham Accords, it was always, I'm having dinner at the first historic restaurant in Dubai. You'd rather have that kind of relationship. That's President Trump. That's peace through strength. It's always, can we make a deal with somebody? And if you can't make a deal, we're going to blow you off the face of the earth. And that's basically what happened. On Friday, I was talking on this show. I was telling all of you about all the airplanes I saw at Ben Gurion Airport, which is the large commercial airport in Israel. That's where they fly passengers out of, where you saw all the Israel military, all the American military assets there. You have this war going on right now because for 47 years, Democrat and Republican presidents ignored the threat that Iran posed while acknowledging it publicly. All of them said, we don't want Iran to have a nuclear bomb. None of them actually did anything about it. Reagan didn't do anything about the Ayatollah. He didn't. As great of a president as Ronald Reagan was, never did anything about the Ayatollah. Got the hostages back, absolutely, just by the mere threats that he made during the campaign. After that, didn't really do that much. Then came Bush Sr., didn't do anything. Clinton, didn't do anything. Okay, occasionally when Iran did something, somebody launched a Tomahawk missile up a camel's butt in the middle of nowhere, but didn't really do anything. Look, Reagan didn't do anything after the embassy bombing. Reagan didn't do anything after the Marine barracks bombing. We really didn't do that much about that. Really didn't. Oh, what? We helped blow up Lebanon? Okay. But Iran is the head of the snake, and we never really did anything about it at all. It's the head of the Hydra. Didn't really do anything about it at all. Then comes Clinton, who, oh, wait, Monica Lewinsky's in the news. Quick, fire a missile at Iraq. Or fire a missile into Iran or something. That's always what it was. Barack Obama, what did Barack Obama do? Barack Obama said to Iran, if we give you money, will you stop being terrorists for 10 years? Please? If we give you billions of dollars, will you not develop a nuclear weapon for 10 years? That was the Iran deal. It was a terrible deal. Do you remember the celebrities? I remember somebody made this video. I think it was Joss Whedon. Made this video with the Avengers. All the Avenger actors. We're in support of the Iran nuclear deal. Shut up. None of you know what the Iran nuclear deal is. Tony Stark may be cool in real life. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. follows what the Iran deal was. I really don't think so. It's been 50 years of no consequences for a terrorist regime. 50 years. And who is Iran the biggest threat to? Well, they've said it openly. The U.S. and Israel. They want to blow up Israel. They want to blow up the U.S. On Saturday night, when I first found out about all this, I sat down with my daughter and we watched Argo. I wanted to teach her what this was all about. And start with the taking of the U.S. Embassy, of the Ayatollah coming to power. Who did the Ayatollah come to power through? Radical, far-left extremists and far-right extremists working together. Sound familiar? A lot of people say this war isn't popular on the right. What, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson sitting Shiva for the Ayatollah together with the New York Times and all members of the Democrat Party? Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens do not represent the right anymore. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, I'm not sure they ever actually did. They both completely jumped the shark. The two of them do not have anything in common with any of you who listen to the show. Nothing at all. All they want is the clicks. And they realize they can get a lot more clicks off of hating America and hating Jews. They can off getting them. And they don't have the guts to actually say they oppose anything President Trump does. Over 500 planes was the last guess I heard on how many went after Iran. And we're going after their missile sites. Here's what Pete Hegseth said earlier today.
Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms, with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste time or lives.
I think that's an important point. I think we've forgotten how to win. And by that, I mean how to win a war. What does it mean when you win a war? The last time we won a war was World War II. Okay, we have the neutral zone filled with mines in Korea. How'd Vietnam work out? How'd the Iraq wars work out? How'd any of this work out? You could say it was politics. You could say it's something else. I think we forgot how to win a war. This is fighting to win because all of our lives are at stake. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, because they've said they've wanted to use it, if not them, one of their proxies. They want to kill Americans. They want to kill Jews. So who are going to be the ones to take them down? The people who feel like they are the most threatened by Iran. When your enemies tell you what they want to do, believe them. And the Ayatollah for years did that. He killed over 1,000 Americans. Over 1,000 Americans, let alone his own people, let alone how many Jews he killed in terrorist attacks, let alone how many Muslims he killed in his own country and in terrorist attacks, or Christians for that matter. Him being gone is a good thing. Marco Rubio laid out the case for Operation Epic Fury earlier today.
Going back to the purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind. Meaning, there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do. is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they can inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program or their nuclear ambitions. They are producing, by some estimates, over 100 of these missiles a month. Compare that to the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built a month. They can build 100 of these a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also have. They've been doing this for a very long time, and by the way, they've been doing it under sanction. You see the attacks they're conducting right now? They're attacking airports, they're attacking hotels, they're hitting not just military bases, they're attacking our embassies directly, they're attacking facilities that have nothing to do with war or with military, and that's a weakened Iran. That's in Iran despite years of sanction. Imagine a year from now or a year and a half from now the capabilities they would have to inflict damage on us. It's an unacceptable risk, especially in the hands of a regime that's run by radical clerics. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one. That has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the President said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule. I will defer to the Department of War to discuss the progress being made at a tactical level, but it was the right decision and an important decision for the safety and security of the world.
Basically, summary, radical jihadis cannot be reasoned with and want to kill you and have said so. Why do you doubt them? Every Democrat is losing their minds over it. By the way, I think the one having the biggest nervous breakdown is a tie between Pramila Jayapal and Patty Murray. Yes, even with Hakeem Jeffries and Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff and all these lunatics, the two biggest lunatics are Patty Murray and Pramila Jayapal. They're absolutely losing their minds over all this. You know, when Pete Hegseth mentions allies who can defend themselves, that was kind of a dig on Ukraine. All these Democrats, oh, we got to help Ukraine. Oh, we got to free Ukraine. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but Israel can defend itself. It's asked to buy weapons from us. And from time to time, hey, let's work together on something. This is unprecedented. This is huge. This is really an amazing thing. There's one Democrat who's clear-headed. One, the guy who had brain injury recently. One Democrat, John Fetterman. Here's what he said on Fox News.
Where does this go now? You have a vote coming up on the president's war powers. How will you vote?
Well, I would really encourage everybody that are watching right now, look up and read the war powers resolution from 1973 and what that requires. What that requires is that provide 48 hours of notification, and President Trump had done that. And then that means after 60 days, then they have to withdraw those soldiers, or perhaps even for an extra 30-day extension.
Time out. Wait a second. All these members of Congress who are saying it was a surprise, knew it was going to happen. They knew it was going to happen. So every single one of them is lying.
Neither of those things have been broken for that. There are no American boots on the ground. So that's why, Epic is now, that was absolutely not, it violates either one of that. And now people, they either don't understand that, or now what they're saying, things are just not true, that it wasn't illegal, or for that, they did not violate War Powers Resolution.
Or they haven't read it at all. They just want something to be mad about. They just want something to get clicks off of. And they know that the majority of the people who follow them on social media and actually like their posts haven't read it either. Continue, please, John Fetterman. I like this guy more and more every day.
From 1973.
Right. So you will vote in what way on Tuesday?
Well, of course, I'm going to vote it down. It's really, it's not necessary, honestly, the entire thing. It's really an empty gesture. There's not going to be any votes. But when you're not even breaking the War Powers Resolution, why are you even doing that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and let's also be clear. I'm tired of seeing people, go on social media and saying we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, and Israel always deserves insecurity, and they deserve to exist. Well, if you're not willing to do about it, then it must just be empty words. Yeah. Are you really? Does it matter? No. But when President Trump was willing to do the kinds of things that are necessary to provide those things. Now, if you really want to prevent Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, he did try to negotiate with them. There has been treaties. There has been other negotiations that never worked. And they had 900 pounds of just below weapons grade weapons. So, here, do you really committed, or are you just going to drop empty tweets and just try to have it both ways and pretend that it really matters? So, and that's why I'm going to support that. As a Democrat, I know that's absolutely the right thing to do. And so for me right now, the world is better. And
he's right. By the way, I like that they say nobody formally declared war. Would you like to know the last time Congress formally declared war? June of 1942. June of 1942. Sure, they voted for money for wars before, but they never formally declared war since then. Meanwhile, there's been Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, ISIS, War on Terror. So give me a break. Give me a break. I got Democrats and Republican presidents in there. It's just because the left is losing their minds. Now, meanwhile, with Pramila Jayapal and Rashida Tlaib and AOC and Ilhan Omar, they're mad because Trump killed one of their friends. Or actually, I should say a bunch of their friends. All their little terrorist buddies running around. They're just mad about that. In this case, it could not be clearer. What the Democrats are doing right now is pure virtue signaling to their base, trying to look for a way to turn this to their advantage. But I think they made a massive miscalculation. Remember how during the last election, the Democrats were counting on the Hispanic vote, and the Hispanic vote was going Republican because of all the stuff going on at the border? So there's a lot of Iranians out there. I don't know how Iranians vote, but I know what some people were telling me yesterday. They were telling me that relatives of theirs who have hated President Trump, absolutely hated President Trump, now love him because he took out the Ayatollah. Did President Trump just get another voting bloc to start supporting Republicans because he took out the Ayatollah? I don't think that's why he did it. But is it a nice bonus feature? Absolutely. Because you're never penalized for doing the right thing. And when you are penalized for doing the right thing, you know that you did the right thing. And the punishment doesn't seem as bad. In this case, President Trump and everybody in his administration and Prime Minister Netanyahu, they are making history right now by undoing the past 47 years of disastrous foreign policy by this government. Our government's not perfect, but when they get it wrong, they get it really, really wrong. And what you are watching in real time is the undoing of Jimmy Carter's legacy. Are we living in biblical times? Are we living in messianic times? It's definitely something to watch. It's really incredible. The complete flip side of that is what's going on here in Washington. Vax insanity is back, my friends. Turd Ferguson made a hell of a declaration. We'll tell you what it was when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KDI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to sign up to become a KVI insider over at KVI.com. Also, download the KVI app and subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. So as terrible as the UN is and they want to do a resolution condemning the U.S. and Israel, good luck with that. Hey, where were you guys the past 47 years? Aren't you supposed to stop wars? Isn't that your charter? Melania Trump was in front of the Security Council today. And before she talked about her pet issues, which involve kids and helping kids and stopping AI from being used to bully kids and things of that nature and online stuff, she actually said this, which I thought was really nice.
My heartfelt condolences to the families who have lost their heroes, who sacrificed their lives for freedom. Their bravery and dedication will always be remembered. I extend my earnest wishes for a swift and smooth recovery to all those who have been injured. You are in my thoughts and prayers during these challenging times. The U.S. stands with all of the children throughout the world. I hope soon peace will be yours.
That's a really nice message. In fact, a lot of you, I'm not seeing any opposition to the war. The only thing I see people who that they don't want is boots on the ground. This one from the 206. Ari, it's been 47 years that the Iranians were using the American flag as a welcome mat. I vividly remember the news clips after the takeover. They mean of the embassy. A lot of boots stomping on an American flag going in and out of buildings. They still do that. They still do that. That's nothing new. Oh, good question from John in Auburn, by the way. Ari, can Israel perform military actions during the Sabbath? Yes. First of all, not everybody who lives in Israel is Jewish. That's number one. Second, not everybody who lives in Israel is observant. That's number two. Number three, you can do anything to save a life. We consider national security saving a life. Or taking the Ayatollah saved a lot of lives. So, yeah, not a problem there. This one here from Ted. Ari, you know what surprises me? That the Iranian mullahs didn't come out and say, we have the bomb. It wouldn't matter whether they did or not. The rest of the world would think twice before acting. Guess they didn't watch the Star Trek episode called the Carbonite Maneuver. That's good. That's good. Somebody who speaks my language. Yeah, the problem is you can't bluff anybody. We know what they have. We know what they don't have. I'll remind you is that years ago, when Barack Obama was president and wasn't doing anything about Iran whatsoever, Israel was doing these little spy missions to deny Iran the bomb. My favorite one is somehow they managed to sneak in a virus to their nuclear facilities and messed with the centrifuges and destroyed them in the process. Yeah, think about that for a second. Meanwhile, getting back to things that are happening closer to home, we've been talking a lot about the thefts on the light rail with all the copper wiring and putting them out of service. Como News had a story that really made me laugh, and you're going to see why in a second.
New at 6, Sound Transit CEO Dow Constantine says the agency needs to help to hold copper wire thieves accountable.
Hang on. I can't even get into that. Hang on a second. The guy who did nothing about law enforcement, now that's affecting his little toy train. Now he wants to hold people accountable. Let me make sure I got that right. That's what he said?
That's like another level of NIMBY. It's not really even NIMBY, but it sort of is.
It's the other way. You're messing with my toy. You're in my backyard, right? Yeah, really. That's what it is. Headline, Dow Constantine finally cares about crime. Now that affected his little model train.
Yeah, not my train car.
Oh, no, not my trains. Not my trains. Hang on, we're going to make fun of him a little bit more. Let's hear a little bit more of this.
For theft has caused train disruptions multiple times in the last few months and is costing the agency a lot of money to fix. Couples Jeremy Harris has been staying on.
Okay. Hang on. Sound Transit finally worried about money. Finally, for the first time ever. You know what I think is going on here? You've reached the point where people go, we're not giving you any more money, you thieving bastards. We're not giving you any more money, and now it's affecting his train. He says, I might not get this extension, I might not get that extension. Watch when he blames everything on the copper wire thefts. All the delays. Watch. He's now going to blame it on that, guaranteed.
Top of this issue, he's live tonight in Soto with the latest for us. Jeremy?
Yeah, Preston, we are just a month away from seeing a historic expansion of the light rail system that will connect Seattle over to East King County. One of the most pressing issues right now, though, is trying to stop theft that has become a repeat and very expensive issue. Despite security improvements on the Sound Transit train lines, thieves are still getting their hands on valuable copper wires used in the system.
It also needs to stop because somebody's going to get hurt.
Beyond dangerous, Sound Transit's Henry Bendon says it's also highly disruptive to passengers.
We get feedback from riders, but we didn't need riders to tell us that copper wire theft was bad. We are pretty frustrated with this as an issue.
So how come I haven't heard you guys talk about more law enforcement? You've been frustrated about this for a while. How come I haven't heard you guys talk about getting rid of the homeless people? Oh, without them, you don't have a lot of riders, do you now?
We will continue to work tirelessly to prevent and manage these disruptions.
Sound Transit CEO Dow Constantine told the agency's board that he is going to work with King County prosecutors to discuss how to move forward after lawmakers in Olympia said no to a proposal that would have made it harder to resell stolen wires at scrapyards.
Hang on. You want to work with prosecutors to move forward. That would require somebody being arrested around here. When is that going to happen, Dow Constantine, anti-police lunatic? Oh, we're going to work with prosecutors. For what? Really, for what? What are you going to accomplish here?
It was the second year in a row that the legislature turned down similar proposals.
Because it was stupid.
It is so terrible. What they're doing, and our losses are so terrible.
It's not just the train lines that are being targeted. Thieves also hit phone, internet, and even power lines, prompting Tacoma Power to now put these signs on poles warning would-be thieves that they have no copper and no scrap value.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Oh, this is like San Francisco when people leave their doors and windows open. I got nothing in the car. I got nothing. When you're at this point, you're already in trouble.
That's incredibly dangerous.
Sound Transit has fanned out cameras in vulnerable areas, one of which recently caught a person stealing wires in between trains on an active line.
The trains do 55 miles an hour. They are 400 feet long. They cannot stop.
I mean, at this point, where does the agency go from here to address this issue?
You know, I think we follow in Dow's lead, which is an all-of-agency, all-of-options approach. Physical infrastructure, legislative priorities, working with the prosecutor's office.
Now,
Whoa, that's not all your options. That's not all your options. Where's the police? Where's the police in there? Didn't hear that anywhere. Here's something else. Where's dealing with homeless Inc.? Because a lot of this copper wire theft is them. Why isn't any of that? You're not working with all stakeholders, so this is not going to get solved. However, don't worry, guys. Turd Ferguson, he's going to solve all our health problems because him and Jay Inslee and crew and Dow Constantine did such a bang-up job last time around. So Washington lawmakers last week approved a proposal from Bob Ferguson, according to Como News, to shift authority over vaccine and other preventative health care recommendations from the federal government to the state. You guys did such a good job during COVID, didn't you now? Okay, you can only go in that restaurant up until 10:59 at night. At 11, the Rona's going to get you. After that, you could die from the Rona. In fact, when you go to a restaurant and you sit down at the table, then you can take your mask off. But if you get up to go to the bathroom, then you have to put your mask back on. In fact, if you go anywhere, you have to put your mask back on. In fact, that waiter person who comes to your table has to wear the mask and gloves. And do you remember this stupidity? Oh, you want to go walking outside? Take a yardstick with you and make sure you're keeping 6 feet difference from the person you're bubbling with. You remember that nonsense? Bubbling? Oh, we're okay. We don't have to wear masks because we're only hanging out with these people. What kind of nonsense is this? The measure passed 36-12 and now heads to Ferguson's desk for signature. Oh, that's going to be fun. Next up, my friends, Tiffany Smiley is going to be joining us to weigh in on the U.S. and Israel's attack on Iran and what's going on up at Capitol Hill in D.C. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KV.